Alright, so this is my second video of the day. I figured I'd put on my old V jersey. I usually get a lot of views with the V jersey. And a Penguins hat. I don't have this jersey, and it's become very difficult to find over the last couple of years. So I'm keeping my eyes open. I'm looking at a magazine from 9 years ago, which predicts who the big stars are going to be. Because we've been talking about prospects. Lots of prospect talk, and you know, these guys are going to be big, and they're going to be great, and they're going to be grand. So let's take a look. Now, it projects in here the 2007 top 10 draft. And this is very interesting. This is the reason why I thought, no, I'll do a video based on what's in here, because there's some interesting quotes in here. Number 1 rated is Patrick Kane. Kane is the draft's most explosive talent. His skills are sick, said one scout. He handles the puck as if it's attached to his stick. Number 2 is James Van Riemsdyk. He's an outstanding puck distributor, reminiscent of a smooth Keith Primo. He's huge, mobile, and he's got gifted vision and touch, said a scout. But where it gets interesting, okay, well, number 4, Kyle Turris. The knock on Turris is where he's playing, but the Wisconsin-bound ace could go number 1. He's a hard worker, tenacious, and can finish. Down at number 6, Angelo Esposito. Some scouts call the highly skilled speedster another Alexander Daigle. If you know this player like most of us do, he ranks close to the top, said one scout. He wishes he was an Alexander Daigle. He never played a game in the NHL. That quote just threw me right off. I'm like, wow, he's another Alexander Daigle. And this was 2007. This was after Daigle was, it was known he wasn't an explosive talent. Daigle wasn't as much of a flop as people remember, though. Stefan was, but Daigle had a couple of good seasons in Ottawa, and then it just fell apart from there. All right, let's take a look at Anaheim first here. Bobby Ryan's rated 11th overall, and this is the Future Watch where they'd rate the top 50 prospects. Bobby Ryan has all the physical attributes of a top-notch NHL power forward. The question with Ryan has always been his commitment to doing what it takes to get there. Ducks management's encouraged by his improvement this season, even though he didn't get an invitation from the U.S. national junior team. After a less than impressive performance in Anaheim's training camp, Ryan is considered a work in progress, but has improved his conditioning and is ready to fight for a spot on the roster this season. And then the rest of the top 10 is middling. Number 10, though, is Ryan Carter, who's still in the NHL. Combines skill and physical play, but must grow into a definitive role. Not really. He's carved out his own niche. Atlanta, which is now Winnipeg. Brian Little is their highest-rated prospect at 31. With their shortage of skilled personnel at center, the Thrashers need Little to develop quickly. He's an important guy for us, Don Waddell said. In the future, it looks like he can be a number 1 center. There's no doubt in my mind he's going to be a good player. Little has strength to go with speed and is a playmaker who also has a wicked shot. He was Rookie of the Year in the OHL 3 seasons ago as a 16-year-old with the Barrie Colts in 03-04 and has progressed each season. And then they got Pavlich here. Alex Bure, who never made it, even though, with the name Bure spelled completely different, but I always kind of pulled for him. And then Tobias Enstrom is rated 8th on their prospect list. Game suited for new NHL, but maybe staying in Europe for one more season. That's it. And Boris Valavic was the number 4 rated prospect. Bruins. Bruins await Rasky business. There's Tuukka Rask. It's been a busy year for the 19-year-old Finn, who's playing in the Finnish Elite League and represented his country in the World Juniors for the 3rd time. He also completed his military service, obtained in a trade from Toronto for Andrew Raycroft. That's always funny. Anyway. Don Sweeney says there'll be an adjustment when he gets over here, but Boston doesn't doubt Toronto's 2005 first-rounder. Has an NHL caliber game. A lot of great players come out of the Finnish Elite League, and Rask is competing against them at a very young age. Acquired, trade with Toronto, June 24th, 2006. So, it's been over 10 years. Happy anniversary, Toronto. And thank you. Thank you. And then the Bruins top 10 prospects have Matt Lashoff 2, Mark Stewart 3, Peter Kalis 4, Jonathan Sigel at 5. Number 6 is some kid named Milan Lucic. Big and physical, has displayed a better scoring touch this season than last. Number 7, David Krejci, a point-per-game player in his first pro season. He has top 6 forward skill. Yeah. So that's my point being that you have your prospects, your first rounders, your second rounders, and everybody's paying attention to. And then you have guys who develop either later or they're just taken in late rounds. So we're all debating over who out of the first round is going to be fantastic or which prospects are going to make it. And in reality, it's a crapshoot. Buffalo, video killed the radio star. Sabres have raised eyebrows and sent a bolt of fear into the scouting ranks with avant-garde evaluation techniques that will either revolutionize the sport or generate ridicule for their frugality. Mostly to save money, the Sabres now rely on video analysis more than the traditional scouting department, and because of that, many of their top evaluators have left the organization over the last 2 off-seasons. That explains a lot. They crashed and burned. I wonder if they still run it that way. The number 1 rated prospect's Drew Stafford. I'll save Winnipeg fans of reading that. The number 2 rated prospect is Andre Sekera. For the respect of Edmonton fans, I won't read. Well, no, I'll go ahead. 2006 OHL Defenseman of the Year, nearly pulled off the upset and supplanted Nathan Paich as the 7th defenseman. Injuries prevented Sekera from building off his remarkable preseason, and others lower on the depth chart were recalled ahead of him. Slovakia's former under-18 World Championship captain made his NHL debut, but wasn't ready. Many scouts consider Sekera a can't-miss prospect because of his slick puck-handling skills, smooth stride, and intelligence. Well, he did sign a pretty damn good contract with Edmonton, so he knows when to sign the dotted line. Dan Paillet's number 3 on this list. Clark MacArthur's 4th. Dennis Pearson's 5th. Marek Zagrapan's 6th, and he was the 13th draft pick overall. Marek Zagrapan. I don't think he ever made it either. Jonas Enroth, considered Sweden's best goaltending prospect since Henrik Lundqvist. Enroth had a good year, but I wouldn't put him in a conversation with Lundqvist at all. Michael Funk's number 8 on the list. He ended up being a farmhand for the Canucks. Marc-Andre Gargani never made it, and it's weird because he had talent, it just didn't translate. Number 10, Convoy coming out of Omaha. So all kinds of prospects coming out to Calgary. Let's go through them. Leland Irving is number 1. Dustin Boyd's number 2. Andre Teratukin is 3. Dan Ryder is 4th. Eric Nystrom is 5th. Nystrom actually did make it, just not for Calgary. 6, Chris Chucko. 7, Matt Pelich. 8, Brandon Prest. Go to hell. Number 9, Tim Ramholt. It's just, when Brandon Prest threw his shit into the Ottawa crowd, it just, like, look, Montreal's losing. Just be a man about it. Number 10, Juuso Puustinen, or whatever. It's Juuso and then Puusti. He didn't make the NHL. That's how it's spelled. He didn't make the NHL. Willingness to play in tough areas, paying off with strong rookie season in WHL. Good. It's probably in the Finnish league now. I don't know idea. So I just, I figured I'd go through a few because you just never know. And then we've got, that's reflection. I know they've got previews in here. Where are they? Oh, they don't. They don't have a further preview. Oh, yes, they do. Yeah, they do. No, never mind. Sneak peek of 2008 draft. They have Kyle Beach in here. Big, mean power forward is piling up points on a first line with Phoenix's first rounder, Peter Mueller. He's got great size and strength, but also great speed and finesse. He was a number 11 draft pick, and I remember when Chicago picked him and Vancouver just picked Cody Hodgson, the Canucks forums lit up with people saying, "Oh, Kyle Beach is a steal for Chicago, and oh, this kid's going to be great." Yeah, I may do that every now and then too. But I was glad we didn't draft Beach at the time. Michael Bodker, Sturdy Danish winger is a swift skating spark plug who has already made the Swedish Elite League debut. He has a high skill level and plays with a big heart. Michael Del Zotto. Silky smooth Del Zotto needs work defensively, but is an exceptional power play quarterback. He's the kind of guy who really excels in today's game, one scout said. And he has in every other season. He's really spotty. It's funny, Del Zotto. I like Del Zotto. He's one of those guys that, I mean, if I heard the Canucks picked him up, I'd honestly be happy because he's a puck-moving defenseman who seems to have potential that on the right team with the right coach, right circumstance, could be really solid top four defenseman. Below him they got some kid named Drew Doughty. There's a wow factor in Doughty, a big dynamic puck rusher with fantastic wheels. This kid oozes confidence with a puck. He'll be a number one pairing defenseman. Absolutely spot on. Anton Gustafsson. He is one of the most exciting Europeans in the draft and is the son of longtime NHLer Bent Gustafsson. He's strong, can skate, has high skill, and plays tough. I'll admit to this. Anton Gustafsson, who was a first-round draft pick of Washington, I really hoped he would do well because I was a huge fan of Bent Gustafsson in Washington. That was when I liked Washington back in the 80s with Dennis Merck, Bent Gustafsson, Rod Langway, Don Beaupre in net, Mike Liut in net. Like, I really, really liked them. And then things changed. But I did. I was a huge Washington fan at the time. Jimmy Hayes. Some say the big winger is already better than highly touted 2007 prospect James Van Riemsdyk. He has great vision, touch, imagination, creativity, and work ethic. Hayes is a good player, but he's no James Van Riemsdyk. Alex Pietrangelo. He's an industrious, mistake-free blue liner who contributes at both ends. He has great poise. He's a pretty cool customer. Pietrangelo is fantastic. He really is. Jan Sauvé. Oh, he got hit by a car in Vancouver. Oh. Sauvé is the lone bright light on a floundering expansion team in St. John. He's a premier prospect. He's big, complete kid with terrific mobility, battle level, and hockey sense. Oh, the career he could have had. Oh man, it's so sad. Steven Stamkos. Stamkos, the early favorite to go number one, a high-octane force who drives the net drives headfirst to the net. I haven't paid to see a game in 20 years, but I pay to see him, one scout said. And then they talk about Colton Tubert, and they say that he's a Pronger-type player. I'll just leave that out there. 2009 draft. The Tavares race is already on, so Tavares was a known entity. This is for people who say, oh, well, Matthews will flop. Usually the guys who you can see over a year ahead, which we did with Matthews, usually the scouts are pretty good with those guys, and in this case, I really can't see Tavares being, or not Tavares, I can't see Matthews being a flop. There's Jimmy Bubnik. Remember Jimmy Bubnik? He was close to Tavares. I don't even know if he got drafted. There's Jared Cowan. The Spokane Chiefs picked the massive blue liner first overall in last year's WHL draft. He almost looks like a can't miss guy. That might be his NHL motto. I almost look like I can't miss. It's tantalizingly close with Cowan, as that was close as well. Watch it, kiddies. Victor Hedman. Hedman is a huge all-around force with monstrous potential. He scouts like he's a 5'10" puck rusher. Absolutely. Absolutely. Tony Rahala. He fell fast. Rahala's small but flashes remarkable offensive talent. He's already the talk of town in Finland. Finland hasn't delivered a star in years, but Rahala has the tools. Finland has now delivered Barkov. Barkov is that star. And there's John Tavares. OHL draft 07, 5 to watch. Matt Duchene, Cam Fowler, Taylor Hall. Blink and you'll miss him. This kid's flat out flies and he can score off the rush, said a scout. I wonder if that was Jersey scout. Peter Holland, Michael Latta. QMJHL 5 to watch. Stephen Anthony is listed there. Stephen Anthony. One of those little known Jeopardy kind of things. Stephen Anthony was traded with Luongo to Florida in that trade a couple years ago. Simon Dupre, he's a top flight quarterback, but doesn't have a physical side. He can carry the puck coast to coast, said one scout. He can. He doesn't do it all the time, but he can. Matt Brown. Brown's a gritty, hard shooting goal scorer. He's not big, but he plays like a power forward. Louis LeBlanc, oh boy. The slick center is the draft's best bet to become an impact scorer. He's got natural skills, and he's very intense. Well, his girlfriend thinks so. Charles Olivier Roussel. He's a two-way blue liner who throws punishing hits. He's got everything, said a scout. And then the top 5 to watch in the WHL draft, Quentin Howden. Quentin Howden, he was really highly touted. I remember when Keith Ballard was traded to Florida with a first round, and the first round pick turned out to be Quentin Howden. Or no, we got Keith Ballard, and it was Quentin Howden the other way. Oh man, Canucks fans went nuts. Quentin Howden's going to be a top 6 forward, blah blah blah. And he just signed as a free agent, I think in Nashville. I don't know. He didn't stick in Florida though. There's Mark Pysyk. Pysyk is the draft's consensus top defenseman. He contributes at both ends, and he's got a physical edge. And then the other guys, Charles Englert, Luke Moffett, and Connor Redmond. So yeah, it is a crapshoot with prospects. So when we talk about these guys now, this is part of the problem. I keep getting asked about Anton Rodin. Why don't I have Anton Rodin in my lineup for the Canucks for next year? Because Anton Rodin hasn't played a game for the Canucks yet. Anton Rodin was here before. And in the American Hockey League, he didn't excel, and his game started going backwards. He goes back home, and he plays really well. I'm not doubting his talent. I don't think there was ever any question about his talent. He's a European. The Canucks are very good at finding diamonds in the rough in Europe. But it just fell apart for him. And if Jim Benning's going to run the team where he's signing guys out of Europe and counting on them to make the opening night roster, it's a mistake. Calgary did it with Cervenka, Damian Brunner in Detroit, and there are numerous guys who come over. Plotnikov with Pittsburgh last year, yes. Panarin was fantastic. Plotnikov, not as much. And until I see Anton Rodin in a Canucks jersey performing well, and not preseason, because preseason is a lie as well. Sergei Shirokov for the Canucks years back. I think it's Sergei Shirokov. I know it's Shirokov or Shirokov or however the hell you want to pronounce it. It doesn't matter. The guy didn't make it, but he played really well in the preseason. I remember thinking, man, this kid's got all the talent in the world, and then it just didn't happen for him. Once the regular season started, he just couldn't do it. So it is tempting to look at some of the guys in the prospects list and say, oh, this guy could make it. Like Jordan Subban is another one. Until he plays in the NHL and he shows that he can handle the physical rigors despite his small stature, I'm going to be on the fence with him, and I don't want to be, because I want Jordan Subban to succeed. I would love nothing more than to see a Canucks Nashville game and see the Subban brothers against each other. If Malcolm Subban doesn't start getting into Boston games soon, maybe the Canucks take a flyer on him. Maybe Nashville takes a flyer on him. And just see, if you have more than one Subban in the lineup, what happens. It's worth a shot. I mean, I know Canucks fans are happy with Demko in the wings and Markstrom in there. He'd be a better fit for Nashville, I guess, because Nashville doesn't quite have the goaltending pipeline that the Canucks do, and I can't believe I'm saying that, and that I mean it. I don't even feel dirty saying it. And the Canucks were always called a goalie graveyard, although that was bull. For all the talk about Vancouver being a goalie graveyard, Philly went through 4 or 5 goalies a year. The Oilers went through how many goalies? The Minnesota Wild were going through goalies like crazy. It's public perception. It's sort of like the perception that the Sedins are soft, and yet you don't expect your top 6 forwards from North America to play any tougher than the Sedins do. And in a lot of cases, they don't. They're not being paid to play tough. They're being paid to score. They're being paid to play the all-around game and the cycle game. I mean, yeah, teams figure out how to break up the cycle, but I've watched them cycle for over a decade, and they've been pretty damn fantastic at it. And I remember they were 2 and 3 draft picks as well. They were pretty near the top of their class, and in retrospect, they should have been at the top. If Atlanta had somehow come out of that draft with the Sedins, do the Thrashers still exist now? Because if you have the Sedins and Kovalchuk, does Kovalchuk stay in Atlanta? And is that team still there? Does Winnipeg have the Jets back? Would there have been enough fan interest and enough interest from the owners because they're making money, because the team's winning? Does that then translate to the Thrashers stay in Atlanta? Anyways, it's just food for thought as we pass through the summer, and rookie camps are going to come up soon. I will keep myself up to date on rookie camps as they start up, and I'll look for any kind of scouting reports I can find. Scouting reports are tricky. I've noticed that we had Cap Geek, and Cap Geek was the big cap website, and Hockey's Future was the big prospect site. Cap Geek is gone, so now we have Cap Friendly, and we have a couple others as well that are trying to replace Cap Geek. And Hockey's Future doesn't get updated enough. I have a hard time, and with in terms of the likelihood of a prospect making it, I don't take their ratings seriously. I look at a prospect and they'll say that their talent is, say, a 6. And the talent thing kind of throws me off too. I think it's an out of 10 thing. So they say this guy's a 7. His likelihood of making it's an F. So he's very talented, but he's probably not going to make it. And it's like, why? And then you'll see another guy who's like a 5 and a B. And it's like, and then you look at their stats and you look at the league they're in, and you're like, they're completely pulling this number out of their backside because there's no really way to qualify why you think guy A is going to make it and guy B won't, other than hunch. And I fully disagree with a lot of their ratings a lot of the time, and I don't have the patience to make my own site. Nor do I have a contact with NHL scouts, which would be fantastic. But one thing at a time. The one thing that YouTube has told me is that when the day comes I reach 1,000 subscribers, all these magical things are going to happen. I'm going to have companies coming at me to advertise with me. I think Lids should be advertising with me now because I keep telling people to order their jerseys from them. You can get a Maple Leafs replica for $63 right now from Lids. And if you want the real deal, an authentic jersey, you can get an authentic Leafs jersey if you don't mind Kadri on the back, or Bernier, I think, or some of these guys. It's being sold right now. It's regular $240, and I think it's $180 or $160. So the prices come down quite a bit. And they have some old-fashioned jerseys, so the actual sweaters. Before they were jerseys, they were sweaters because they were knitted. These are jerseys because they're not knitted. They're polyester. So that's why these are jerseys. And the old ones are sweaters. And every now and then I'll hear people say, it's not a hockey jersey, it's a hockey sweater. And it's like, okay, you don't know what you're talking about because the sweaters are the old ones. These are jerseys. That's it. There's no argument here. You can call it a sweater, but it doesn't make it a sweater. It's just like I could call this a seagull, but it's still a penguin. Calling it something that it's not doesn't make it that thing. But, yeah, so who knows, maybe at some point I'll get some kind of a deal going with them, because if I ever did that kind of thing, I'd want to make sure it was something that I'm going to talk to viewers about anyways, rather than just, pick up one of these delicious Diet A&Ws and talk about the delicious flavor of Diet A&W and that it doesn't taste like diet, unlike other diet drinks. And it's caffeine-free, unlike Diet Coke, so for a guy who's trying to escape caffeine, that's my option. Anyways, that's Prospects from 2007. And a little bit about jerseys there at the end. So, anyways, thanks for watching. Booms and busts. There will be busts. And as we get closer to the season, I will hazard a guess on the most likely boom on each team and the most likely bust on each team in terms of their prospects, and we'll see if I'm anywhere remotely close. Remember now, I'm a guy who really liked Jan Sauve. I was so thrilled when the Canucks drafted him, and then he got hit by a car, and then... oh well. Anyways, thanks for watching.